Good afternoon. Welcome to the meeting of the HMLP Board, November 14th, 4 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Is there anyone other than the light plant who would like to record this meeting today who's on the call? Okay, hearing none, we'll just get right to the agenda. I want to ask the board if, since we did not get a chance to look at the financials at our last meeting, if maybe we should begin with that, because we have a packed agenda. So let's make sure we don't miss it this time. So if that's acceptable to the board,
That
then I'll
emotion.
just, no, I don't think so. I think we'll just cause it to happen. So
Yeah.
Tom, you
Let
wanna-
me share the financials.
can everyone see that?
I don't think everyone can see it.
I'm guessing everyone can see it.
That's good.
All right, so our kilowatt hour sales and our revenue were lower than the last couple of years. Expenses were in line. Net income, $629,000 for the month. If you look at the net income for year to date, we're at 4.2 million. This is in line with the 8%, so we believe we're going to be right about 8% for the end of the year. We don't plan on making any more adjustments to the PCA between now and year end. And again, we think we're going to be close to that 8%.
Okay,
What
I'm
happens
just
if we're just over?
We may be a little bit over, but we'll be right around the 8%. And in conversations we've had with the DPU, it doesn't seem like that's going to be a major issue for the DPU.
Okay. Thanks.
As long as we could justify why we're going over, and this year we're going over because we changed our rec revenue procedure. So I was told by our auditors that it shouldn't be a problem if we go over the 8% this year, just because we can justify it.
Yep.
okay. I'm just curious, we were, last year, we were ahead of that number in September. Did we have a larger net income last year and yet we still met our 8%?
The reason being, Laura, is that we changed how we recognize our rec revenue.
Yeah.
And now we're recognizing it as it comes in rather than when we spend it.
Yeah. And did we have a bunch of that last year? Is that why the
Last year we did it differently. Last year we did it as we spent it. And sometimes when we spent it, it was a capitalized item, and that's when it hit our bottom line. It's easier to control if we do it as it comes in the door.
Yeah.
I think Laura's asking where we were 4.8 last year and came in under the 8%.
Yeah, last year in September, we were
see
like
what you're saying.
700,000 in net income ahead of where we are now.
Yeah.
But you know, my feeling is that basically our revenues don't change that much. So
The last 3 months, yeah.
yeah, how'd we get in under 8% last year?
Because we're still going to add another 1.2 million to this before the end of the year for our rec revenue for 2024. And last year we didn't do that.
So that's why we're going to be closer to the 8% than
Correct.
last year. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think I get it.
Good. Just ask if you don't get it.
All right, I will. Okay, thanks very much. Any other questions from the board? Sorry. Are there any questions from members of the public? Okay, I don't see any, so maybe we can take that down. And the next item on the agenda is the NextZero legacy customer discussion. Brianna's going to lead this, I think. Do I have that right?
I think the next one was the discussion on the.
Oops, I'm sorry. Yep, discussion. Yeah, so I put this on the agenda, our next item, agenda item. Thinking about the third of our projected 3 rate increases that we set a couple of years ago is coming up in January. And I had a suggestion after the last one a year ago from a former member of the Water Commissioners, who would be also therefore a member of the Select Board, that it would be a good idea for us to have a public hearing and let people know what's coming and, open up a line of communication for people to discuss, what the issues are, why we're doing this, and ask questions and so forth. So I wanted to ask the board if this was a proposal that met with your approval.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That sounds fine.
If so, what do you think would be a good time to have that meeting?
Is this going to be a Zoom session?
Well, that's also, all of this is up for discussion. Over at the town hall, they are very, very good at doing hybrid meetings. We haven't had terrific success with it, but they kind of have it down. We could possibly have a hybrid meeting over there and ask for their staff to help us do the technical part. Or we could just have it as a Zoom meeting. Or we could just have it at the light plant as an in-person meeting. What do people think?
I'm okay with all those. However, if we have people who want to participate at an in-person meeting in the light plant, how would that work?
They would come to the light plant.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
maybe I should qualify that with a lot of people.
Okay, well, that is an issue, so that's why choosing town hall for a meeting like that might be smarter. Any thoughts, Mike? Hybrid, in person?
Could we also do an informational flyer that would go out
We,
with the bills and on our website? And
we
to
have, we
our
have a
mailing
flyer,
list?
we have a flyer ready to go out. Well, almost ready to go out. Joan's gonna make a few changes to it, I think, and that will go in the paper. Our plan was to send that out, on social media and post it on the website. And included, I think, in the update, we're sending out an update with the bills this month.
So ideally, if we were going to have a public hearing, that there would be an announcement of the public hearing as part of that. And I guess my question is, do people think that December is a better time for it or January? It's just in December, people find it hard to show up for stuff. I don't want to make it difficult.
When
January.
the rate's going into effect?
It would be January 1st.
So per kilowatt hour after January 1st.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That makes it difficult to do it in January.
So do you feel like December is the right time? We could pick some day that's sort of not too deep into the holidays.
We
The
have to do
week-
it before the rates go into effect, I think.
All right, so sometime the week of the 16th, perhaps. I'm gonna be out of the country the 5th through the 10th. So the week of the
Our
16th.
December meeting,
And, well, our December meeting would be the 10th, but we're gonna have to change the time because I will not be available.
We do have to publish this in the paper by December 1st at the latest. I was planning on putting the paper next week to give people, a little bit more lead time. But I don't know how that time is gonna work in with when you want your meeting.
Well, you gotta put it in the paper when it's required, but I'm not sure that, I think that more people will hear about it through their bills or through an email from us or social media or the town. We can use the town email list too. I think more people will hear about it that way than
We
through the
can,
paper.
yeah, we can email, we have emails for, I think, maybe 70% of our customers. So, again, we're sending out a GM update, on the transmission project this week. that'll be emailed out. So we can easily email out a letter about the rates, and we can include a date, for a public hearing with that email, and we can also send out a letter to those that do not have email.
Mhm. I am certain that 70% of our customers do not read the paper, so, or will not see the notice in the paper that it may be required by law, but it's really not an effective way of getting the word out to people. And I think that's what my friend, the water commissioner, was saying. Yeah, so,
So we can, again, we can email that letter separately to every customer.
Mhm.
At the same time, we put it in the paper, that
Yeah.
notice, and mail notices to those that do not have email addresses.
mhm. So we could, so, uh, bills go out kind of near the end of the month, right?
Number first, yep.
So we would want to get it into that bill, so we don't want to have it before then. So what do people think about the week of the 16th through the 20th, sometime in there?
I think that
as
makes
a
the most
time?
sense.
Okay.
Yep.
Can I ask my board members what evenings that week you're available? Don't all speak at once.
I'm looking at the sports schedule.
Yeah, I know how that is. I remember that, yeah. And Mike, your work schedule, is it known this far in advance?
Known but not memorized, but I
Oh,
will
okay.
make myself available for that.
Okay.
Potentially the Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 17th?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. So should we schedule it for 7:30, Tuesday, the 17th? I must say we haven't had a lot of demand for in-person meetings. Maybe we should just go ahead and have a Zoom meeting. What do people think?
I'm happy with the Zoom or in person. Zoom's easiest, so if we can have a Zoom, great.
It
If
is
not,
easiest. I'm just trying to think about the ratepayers and what's going to work best for them. But it's hard to know.
town hall.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to do something, you know, having both options, we could open the service center here and have people here that wanted to come in person and have it on Zoom.
Well,
Might be,
that's
but it might
I
be
would
more
imagine
usual and customary to have it at town hall.
Is it? Okay.
Also-
People just know the parking, they know where it is.
I'm okay with either one. I just typically we don't get a lot of in person. It's most of these meetings.
So I think if we did it at town hall, we would need to ask, the town administrator's office if
Yep.
they have someone who can help us do the technical aspect, because we're not
Yep.
up on what they do. So, so let's try, we'll do hybrid and in person, and assuming that we can get help from town hall on that, and if not, we'll just have Zoom. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Yep.
Would this be just strictly an open forum, or would this be a board meeting type thing where we would talk about the other items?
So I am just imagining it as a hearing on the,
Okay.
and finding another time to have a regular meeting,
Okay.
which we will have to do because, as I said, I won't be here on the 10th, which is our usual meeting day.
So could I suggest that we have it first item being the hearing itself, and then have the option of going to an agenda and postponing that agenda if there's not time or it's not amenable to everybody? But I think the opportunity of getting everybody together is important.
I don't know what people's schedules are, but would it be possible to do the board meeting prior to the public hearing?
Well, that might be difficult because kind of
Yeah,
run over dinner time for people.
Yeah,
So I like Mike's idea. We could have an agenda, we could post an agenda. And if it turns out not to be possible to get to every item on the agenda, we can postpone some of it, but we could try to make that our regular meeting and have the hearing up front. You think? Yes?
I'm in favor.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so what I'm picturing is a presentation, slideshow explaining the history of the rate increases that we've been having and the reasons for them, and having some time for public discussion. And I'm hoping Brianna can help me put that together. Is that a yes? Can you do that? Okay. Okay,
It also might be worth to have some comps in there to what other light plants are charging per kilowatt hour, and also the investor-owned utilities. I think it would be good to document that at this point in time.
Sure.
I'd further add that I think it'd be helpful to have kind of a timeline for all of this, like when this initiative started years ago. I think some people are of the opinion that this is kind of a surprise to them, and that it's new, but it's not new.
Right.
And to kind of show how that progressed and then give the evidence of why it's going to be important.
Okay, that sounds good. Great thoughts.
And why the rates are going up.
So maybe I'll work with Brianna on that, and we'll send out a presentation for comments and suggestions from the rest of the board and the staff before we get there. Sounds good.
I will reach out to town administration to see if we can get that set up at town hall on the 17th.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, anything else that we need to go over about this before we move on the board or the staff? Any comments or questions from members of the public? Okay, so let's move to the next item on the agenda. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad we're going to do this. Now the NextZero legacy customer discussion. Brianna.
Yes, so on a prior meeting, we had talked about the new demand response program with NextZero, connected homes. And there were customers that up until we switched over in June to the new program, they were participating in HMLP's behavioral off-peak charging program, where they could sign up their EV and receive credits on their bill for off-peak charging and helping us manage load in that way. So we have a series of customers that cannot connect to the new program now that we've gone to a demand response software. And we looked at a variety of ways we could get them back into that program and get them off-peak charging and receive some sort of incentive for working with us on making sure they don't charge on peak. We looked at a couple different options. We figured that we cannot run a parallel program that's behavioral like what we were doing before because of several constraints. And we decided that a good proposal might be to just have these customers enroll as new customers and be eligible to receive a charging rebate. So a lot of these customers in the past may have received a rebate for equipment that's not eligible to participate here. The proposal that we're making is essentially to allow them to sign up for our EV scheduled charging program. So it's the step before connected homes. It's like if somebody just bought their EV and they bought a charger, they'd be seeking a rebate of up to $600 with the program. We'd enroll their charger for a period of 3 years in that scheduled charging. And then they'd be doing essentially what they had been doing before of charging during the off-peak hours. At the end of the 3 years, they'd be eligible to join connected homes. So it is a larger rebate, which is why we don't give them the rebate and the credits right away. We want to get them into the daily off-peak charging. The rebate covers the equipment cost, and then they can join Connected Homes, which isn't every single day. Instead, it's when we call events. It's at certain days when we think there's going to be a peak. So that's the idea. I like your feedback on it. And I don't know if you received a document kind of detailing this thought process a couple months
Yeah,
ago.
We
Okay.
did. So just so I'm clear, the idea would be they would receive a rebate for new equipment that they would be able to enroll in the program 3 years from now. Is that the idea?
Yes, they'd be
Okay.
enrolled right away in the EV scheduled charging program. But
But they
then
would not receive the rebate for that for 3 years,
they would get the rebate upfront of up to $600.
right? But not the monthly credit.
Right. And if they decided maybe a year or two in that they no longer wanted to off-peak charge, the program is a contract essentially. We would collect the funds back from them that were rebated for the equipment. So we are asking that they participate for the 3-year period.
I see. So they will be, everything will be the same for these new customers as everyone else in the program, except that they will not receive the rebates, the monthly credits for 3 years. Do I have that right?
Basically, they would be a new customer coming into this program.
Right, and the reason we would do that is because we're asking them essentially to replace their charging equipment if they want to participate. Do I have that right? Okay.
Yep.
I think I understand it now. Thoughts from the board?
How many customers are affected here?
It was 15. We have recently added more vehicles to the program, so several of those customers are now eligible to apply. And I've reached out to everyone that when their vehicle becomes eligible, and I'm aware that they had wanted to join before, I contact them. So we had BMW added, for instance, and I had 1 or 2 customers that applied to. But I think we still have at least 11 people that reached out and could not join the program.
So that's good news. Do you have the impression that the Connect to Homes program is being aggressive about, trying to enroll new vehicles, trying to make deals to enroll new vehicles?
Yes, and Zoe, who manages the program, and Joe Coles, who also manages it, actually reached out after our board meeting a few months ago and said they'd be willing to come on and sort of detail how they go about interacting with manufacturers more, which I think would be great to kind of hear how they go about talking with them and getting people to sign up. But they did just enroll a variety of new vehicles, so that's been great. And they go through beta testing a lot. So there's a few more vehicles in beta testing right now, is my understanding. So I think it is a consistent communication.
And are they keeping our page on their website updated, or do you have to do that?
So myself and Energy New England actually recently went through and we found a couple links that weren't active. So we are updating it right now. They're managing the webpage and
But not very well, evidently.
There's been a few little things, because they have so many MLPs that they're changing things for, but they did update, for instance, a charger is no longer a part of the program, so they were quick about getting that taken down and reaching out to customers. You may be aware NLX left the industry, so that changed the program dynamics because that was one of the chargers being rebated.
That's the juice box.
Yes.
I guess that's
Okay.
always a risk, right? Is we don't control who's in and out of the program. So if someone leaves the program in the future, that device won't be available or part of the program anymore. So that customer would again be out of the program.
I have a feeling that this whole arena has really a Wild West air to it, of people coming in and coming out, and like any new industry, someday it's going to settle down.
Yeah.
And there'll be 2, 3, or even just one main player that you have to work with. But we are in kind of a Wild West period right now. That's going to be risky. So one of the things that we talked about at the last meeting was, the notion that the previous program was always temporary until we found a better program. But I don't feel like that idea gets through to customers. I don't, once you've started somebody on a rebate program or on a credit program, it's really hard to tell them, sorry, we're going to take this away. So I wonder if is there anything, I haven't been through the process myself, so is there anything in the paperwork or anything that when customers sign up on, and it's a contractual basis, do they get warned about these possibilities that equipment covered by the program may change and you may not qualify in the future? Is there anything like that in there?
We keep that in all of our rebate guidelines, that our programs are subject to change at any time. Your funds could end, we could conclude the program. So it is there throughout our web pages. I'd have to go through the contracts specifically to see if there are line items in there indicating it, but I'm sure, I'd like to believe legal teams have caught that and narrowed it. But I could have Joe Coles come on and speak to it as well in more detail.
I just feel like if it's a contract, that's what people are going to look at. They're not going to scour our website, for all the information about it. It might be good to have it in there.
I'll make sure that it's detailed, and if it's not, we'll have
Yeah.
them add it.
Yeah, because there could be a great deal of aggravation down the road if one of these very large charger manufacturers decides to get out of doing this, which could
I
happen.
think we're gonna, from what I understand, that the Tesla charging standard is what's going to be adopted. And those companies that don't use it are going to migrate to it. So I think we're going to see a transition again with chargers like NLX and Juicebox transitioning away, and market share will go which way it goes. I think the terms and conditions you agree to when you sign up to Connected Homes. So there are some terms and conditions that you have to check the box before you can move further into the registration process.
I will try to sign up my thermostats and experience the program myself so that I understand better how that all works. That'd be good.
And it is helpful for the EVs that people can sign up their vehicle as well. So when we had the NLX juice boxes potentially not being able to function anymore with the program, we were able to get those 6 customers we had with juice boxes to work with them and try to get their vehicle enrolled in Connected Homes.
Instead.
Yep. So it's been helpful that the telematics program with the EVs has been growing, and that's what they're rapidly expanding, is adding EVs to the program, not necessarily the charging equipment, so that we can communicate with their specific vehicle no matter what.
Well, that was
Yeah,
lucky.
the only issue with that is that a lot of the manufacturers charge a monthly charge, which is more than what the rebate is.
I did recently learn that a few were doing that. Yes.
Yes, and
Oh,
it doesn't
no.
necessarily come free.
Oh, no. That's news to me. That's interesting. So Brianna has proposed that for our legacy customers that we offer them up to $600 on a new charger. They would be enrolled in the program and be asked to do the voluntary reduction in use of electricity at the usual hours like all the other customers. And in 3 years, then they would be eligible also to get the monthly rebate. The monthly credit, I keep saying rebate, and the monthly credit in exchange for being willing to lower their electricity use during peak hours. Have I summed that up correctly?
Yes.
Yes.
And you're asking for board approval for that. So.
I don't know if we need approval.
Okay.
We're looking for your input. I mean, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it.
You can just go right ahead and do it. Yes,
Right,
you
but we
can. I
just
know you
wanted
can.
we wanted to get your input and
I
your
appreciate
blessing.
that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So I guess for me, given this Wild West thing that's going on about people coming in and out of the of the program and in and out of the business, if we can raise up and highlight the risks that people may be enrolled for a while and then may no longer qualify. Maybe that would help us down the road if that happens and we have to tell people they can't qualify anymore. See if we can make that more prominent for them when they sign up.
Do we have a recommended list or something that we've vetted that looks like it will have some longevity at least?
You mean a list of what we would suggest that customers
Of
get?
charges that we're willing to rebate, so to speak.
Yes, right now, the charge point charger is the only one that's being highlighted for customers to purchase. We also have Emporia chargers that can communicate with the program. So if somebody bought a charge point or an Emporia charger, they should be able to enroll.
So we should make that clear that it's an either or decision.
Yes.
Okay. Any other feedback from the board on this proposal? Any thoughts or questions from members of the public? Okay, thanks very much. Off we go. And the next item on the agenda is our periodic review of the income adjusted rate. When we put this in last January, we agreed to take a look at how it was going every 3 months and see what the uptake is and what the future of the program might be. So Brianna, you may have some stuff to share with us.
Yeah, I think I shared an email from Joan. So we have 164 customers on the IA rate at this time. And that program has, the result of that is the loss in revenue, I guess. So the cost of that program year to date is $11,697. We also have only one customer on the general heat income adjusted rate, and the impact of that customer being on that rate year to date is $3.88.
So in short, that rate is not that much help to that customer, I think is.
Well, again,
right.
we haven't hit the winter season, right? That
Yeah.
rate was only implemented in.
That was just for 1 month of that, September.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So we should take a look at that because that's a whole other bag of apples. We should
Yeah.
take a look at that after winter and see.
And again,
where
we
that is.
only have the one customer on that rate.
Was that customer amenable to moving to a different program?
I don't know if I don't even know who that customer is or know anything about them.
I mean, obviously, if that customer found themselves in a position to move to heat pumps, they would save a lot of money
Yeah,
on their heating. But, figuring out how to fund that up front is,
yeah.
I don't know if would we ever reach out to them and ask that?
I think typically what we find with a lot of these customers is they're in rental properties.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I would like to ask Tom and Joan how you're feeling about the financial impact of this program to date. Is it what you expected? Is it more than you expected? Is it more than we can manage?
No, I personally don't think it's more than we can manage. I think it hasn't been much of an impact at $11,000 year to date.
I agree with you, Tom.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're at what percent now is the credit?
10%.
10%, okay. So my instinct, and I'll ask the board what you think, my instinct would be to let it ride another a few quarters before we consider whether we wanted to increase it. But we had thought that if the impact was not too great, we might increase to 15% at some point down the road, but I don't think we have enough data. I think people are going to continue to enroll. I guess we're not, I don't think we're at the top number of people who are going to be in this program. So don't think I want to go to a higher percentage at this point. What does the board think?
I'm thinking that 10% is not enough.
I actually agree with that. But for me, it's tempered by
We're-
having to know, having to know what the commitment of
We're
funds would be.
rolling into winter. Any of those customers that are on that rate that have moved to heat pumps will see 100, 200, maybe even 300% increase in their utility bill. We want to incent and help people.
Do you have a proposal?
I would say let's go with 5% more and consider another 5% at our next evaluation.
Tyler, thoughts?
We don't have an estimate on how many people, what the total population is to enroll and what our current enrollment is. Is that correct?
Well, we know we have 164 people enrolled at this time. And the rate's been in place since January of last year. But there's no way for us to tell how many more customers might enroll, but it has been a year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel like we've seen really a peak weather month this year so far, extremely hot or cold, if that changes things, but it has been quite some time, so I'd be okay with a 5% increase.
Were you going to say something, Brianna?
Based on the census data and potential poverty levels, we did estimate that somewhere between 700 to 2,000 people in Hingham could potentially qualify for the rate. And that was not knowing how many of those individuals live in the same household.
One of the things that the town has found with their tax rebate programs and tax help programs is that often people who qualify are unwilling to sign up for them, which I think is really unfortunate. And I hope that's not going on, but I doubt we'll ever get to, 1,000 people. That seems unlikely, unless, short of complete economic meltdown for everyone. I think it's unlikely that it'll get that high.
If 2,000 is the top, it's probably safe to assume that 1,000 might be enrolled, potential enrollment max, given two people living in the same place. If we had 1,000 enrolled at 10%, that would be, what do we have, 167 right now? So it'll be a little bit more than 5 times that number. If we had that number, then how would we feel about that number?
So 5 times 11,000 is 55,000 a year. That's
Yeah.
getting to be a bigger number.
And that hasn't been a full year yet. That's through September.
Mm-hmm.
How
So
much
that's
do
only
we
2 per-
rebate back on the bills for early prompt payment over the
10%.
10%? But what does that come out in dollars?
That I don't know, Joan.
I don't have that number in front of me. It's like the customer charge is like $3.83. But don't forget, all these numbers are about to change with our rates. Our rate increase, their rates are going up as well.
Mhm.
So that's going to have more of an impact on what we're giving away.
That will be a great opportunity to also highlight the income adjusted rate at that time.
And we can put something in the bills at the beginning of the year to remind people that the income adjusted rate is available.
I think we should do that at least yearly.
Yeah.
Because
They also have to renew. They have to renew every year too.
Mhm.
How many
Every year,
people,
yeah.
how many of these 165 people are going to renew again for get the paperwork again in for January.
But I'm also really concerned about people who might not have had a problem in the past and find themselves in a difficult spot. If we haven't been, reminding them about the existence of the rate, they may never think of it. I was speaking with someone who is involved with the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, and they help people in town who are in financial hard straits, and they did not know about our rate. So, we still have some work to do, getting the word out to people who are in contact with those populations.
Yeah, we could reach out to the organizations. Typically, we have a list of organizations that we give to people to, when they're looking for help. So we can reach out to all of those organizations to make sure that they know we have an income adjusted rate.
Boy, that would be an excellent thing to do. I think that's how we're going to find that population. So I'm asking, if there is a motion, is there going to be a motion to raise our income adjusted rate by 5%?
I would make that motion.
Is there a second? You thinking about it, Tyler?
I'm thinking about it after what
Okay.
Brianna said about
That's
the
okay. Yeah, about
potential
how many people are
5.5 times that number. I never heard from Tom and Joan how that would affect us. If that would be worrisome or not worrisome.
My opinion is that I don't think it would be worrisome. If, you're talking about $55,000 a year.
Okay, I just want to register that just to mention, that there have, we've heard from ratepayers who don't think that other ratepayers should be shouldering this burden, so we'll just keep that in mind. I personally feel that we're a community organization owned by the community, and that it is part of our responsibility to the people who own us to try to make sure that everybody has service that they can afford. So I come down on that side, but I just wanted to remind everybody that there is another point of view out there.
Yep, I'll second the motion.
Okay, if, Tom, if you feel like that is a manageable number that's not going to adversely affect the finances of the company, then I would be willing to support it as well. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion from staff about this? Any thoughts or comments from members of the public? Okay, hearing none, then we'll come to vote. All in favor, Mike?
Aye.
I think he said aye, but he was muted. Okay, Tyler?
Aye.
Laura, aye. So when we send the publicity out at the beginning of the year, we can highlight that, and I think that will be helpful.
When will that go into effect?
It would go into effect with the January rates.
Okay,
January 1st, yeah.
thank you.
Okay, great. Next up on our agenda is the policy on voluntary payment to the town. Tom sent out a policy which has been reviewed by our council. And so at our last meeting, we talked about putting this policy together, having it reviewed, and bringing it back for discussion today. Tom, do you want to put that up? Do you have
I
it?
can share that, sure.
Yeah. So, I'm sure everybody's had the opportunity to review this. Any thoughts from the board on this? Is this what you had in mind?
This does. Yeah.
Hmm. I had two suggestions that I wanted to make about a couple of changes. The first is that that's not it. Hang on, I gotta open the right file. So where it says the formula for determining the payment is based on is based on the average. Hang on a second. Based on the average voluntary payments by other municipal light plants. And I would, that's a little, I would feel more comfortable if we said the formula for determining the payment is based on the calculation that's used by the majority of Massachusetts municipal light plants. Because that's really, we don't ask, okay, what's the average? And we set it at that. We just use the same calculation that other light plants do. And I think that gives a more accurate representation of how we set that rate. I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Is that acceptable to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other one I suggested that at the end of the previous meeting, I said that I would I put some thought into this, and Tom was faster than a speeding bullet and got this policy together and out to our council and back before I managed to get my foot in the door. But I do want to suggest that at our meeting, our attorney gave us a suggestion that for a sentence at the end that sounds something like, all of the foregoing will take place pursuant to a vote each year of the HMLP board to approve a voluntary payment or to decline to make one, based on whether, in the opinion of the board, there are sufficient surplus funds available to make a payment. She had suggested sort of enshrining the idea that it would be a board vote. Is there any thoughts about that language, adding that language at the end?
Yeah, she did have that in that the first paragraph, the last sentence is a little bit of that.
I thought that was a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have an issue
Okay.
with that suggestion. I'm just saying.
Yeah, just
there is
making it
some
really
language.
clear that we could approve, we could make the payment or not.
Yeah.
But there will be a board vote either way. It's kind of what I
So you're suggesting putting that in where that is in place of that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not compulsory, it's arbitrary, and it's up
Yeah.
to the board.
Yeah. So hearing no objections, then we'll just with those two changes, is there any other thoughts on the?
I
Yeah,
would add a period at the end of the
Well, that
before the
I think we
calculation,
should-
and I would also list out what MEAM stands for.
Okay.
good.
Laura, can you just send me your suggestions? So
I
get them
will.
correct, and then
I totally
I'll
will.
make the other changes as far as I'll
Yeah.
include what MEAM stands for and
Okay, great. Any other thoughts from the staff or the board? Are there any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a vote. All in favor, Tyler,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Laura, aye. Okay, thanks very much, Tom, for that. Excuse me. Okay, we are on to this question of the letters to the DOER from the Municipal Electric Association of Massachusetts about heat pumps in large buildings. Mike, did you want to open that up?
Yeah, I mean, these letters were sent out to elected officials expressing opinions that were not socialized or discussed at many of the municipal light plant board meetings. And I think that was fundamentally wrong. And I think that should be expressed very strongly to me.
So let me just ask Tom, my recollection is that you did not see these letters either before they went out. Is that right?
correct.
Yeah.
I think these went out through the MEAM Legislative Committee. So I know they did talk about, they did talk about the two issues. at a MEAM meeting. But it went to the legislative committee, and they're the ones that decided to send these letters out, I guess.
So from my point of view, this is just a longstanding problem of the Managers Association taking a position on policy without asking the policy boards. And I don't know, Mike, did you want to send them a letter once again objecting to having them speak in our name without checking with the policy boards as to whether the boards support the policy?
I'd be in favor of that.
Tyler, you're nodding your head. Okay.
I
So
mean,
maybe,
we can't be spoken about without being in the loop, no matter how quickly something needs to go, needs to go out. And I think it's wrong that the politicians that signed off on this were blindsided.
yes, I heard about it was our state rep calling me and saying, what about this? Or actually, she called me after she signed the letter that she was asked to sign, and then said, oh, I can explain why I signed this. But I'm like, hey, we really need to talk about that. But it's not the legislator's fault, because when MEAM plus E&E plus MWEC go up to the Hill, and the three of them together represent that they're speaking for municipal light plants, there is no one there to say them nay, nor would I really want to, because when the legislature does not hear a united voice from light plants, they ignore whatever is being said. So it's a very complicated, it's a Gordian knot that seems very hard to untangle when we ask MEAM, please, have the policy boards involved in this. They tell us that it's up to us to tell our general managers, who are our voice at MEAM, what our positions are. But of course, if we don't know what's being discussed, that's really impossible. So
I can give you just a little bit of background on what was discussed on each of them. So on the large buildings issue, that was the DOER was proposing that, and part of the issue is we don't fall under the DOER because we're not a investor-owned utility, I guess. But the other issue is, they're asking light plants to provide the usage for buildings over, I think it's 2,500 square feet or 25,000 square feet. And really, there's no way for the light plants to know how big a building is, other than going to the town and trying to figure that out. But the customers have that information. The building owners, they have how big the building is. They know, they know what their usage is. They get a bill every month. So that the discussion was, why should the light plant have to, gather this information and send it, particularly where some of these light plants might only have 4 people that work for the light plant. So it becomes a burden for them.
the town knows how big those buildings are,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah, but so the light plant would have to go to the town,
Yeah.
find out what buildings, and then that type of
Mhm.
thing. So, and then on the clean heat standard, the feeling was that we have no control over, people putting heat pumps in their homes, other than to give them more money. So if again, if residents decide not to put a heat pump in, we don't believe that we should be fined for that. And that money would go out of the light plant to the state for whatever use they determine.
So, Tom, what's your opinion about these policies?
I think I'm in agreement. I mean, again, for the for the heat pumps, you know, how does Hingham Light make people put heat pumps in?
Well, obviously, the intent is to incentivize utilities to provide assistance to their customers in this
Yeah.
direction. And I
And
guess I don't.
we can do that on our own, right? We can, you know, we can decide to give more money for heat pumps and incentivize, but again, we don't have control over, other than, you know, telling people we're gonna give them a free heat pump. Maybe we get more people, or we get the number of people we need then, but other than that, we don't have any way to incentivize people to put a heat pump in.
Neither do, excuse me, neither do the investor-owned utilities.
Oh, I
mean,
know,
They
yeah.
can't make, you know, they're in the same boat.
But
So do you feel like it's a
investor-owned
bad policy in
utilities,
general?
the investor-owned
Okay.
utilities will just add that to the bill,
Yeah, the cost of it.
right?
Whatever it costs,
Which
yeah.
I guess we could do that also, but,
I know there are light plants that do, we don't.
Yeah.
It's not a step we've taken. Well, that's interesting. That is the best, that's all of the explanation that I've had at this moment about what those policy questions were, so.
again, and that
to
was
be-
it.
Yeah,
that
I'm
was
not so
just-
frustrated it's not that I agree or disagree, it's
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
we're
No,
being spoken for without being consulted, that's my problem.
Yeah.
I don't know, Tom, would you be willing to draft a letter for the board to sign, saying, hey, you know, regardless of the outcome on these two policy matters, the board, what's the right word? We don't want to say we resent it, but we want to say we believe it's incumbent upon those speaking for us at on Beacon Hill to consult the policymakers at the individual town level before speaking for us.
Yeah.
Does
I
that,
can draft that for you and send it out for a comment.
okay, does that speak to your concern, Mike?
Yes, thanks.
Tyler, you on board with this?
Yep, I'm in.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Any other thoughts from the staff on this? Any thoughts from the members of the public? Okay, thank you very much for doing that, Tom. We really appreciate it. So we're up to approving the minutes of October 8th. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes? Any changes that people would like to make?
I have a couple of small ones. We talk about converting to convert electric systems. I think we mean convert to electric systems.
Where can you help us know where that is?
In the abode,
Okay.
right up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just search for
Yeah. No,
convert. We have a cold rated, not related. And 15 to 20 megawatts should be megawatt hours. I think that was Tyler's point, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Let me just open this. I just wanted to mention that Deidre Lawrence's name is, I think, is spelled DEIDRE. Pretty sure.
it is.
And this is not as a recommended change. As I was struck going through the minutes, I just wanted to raise this up again, where Mr. Harold cautioned that whatever plan we come up with is not going to be what actually happens, and we have to be comfortable with that. That really struck me. I'm not sure I am comfortable with it, but I feel like we could put that at the top of every set of meeting minutes just to remind ourselves, but we won't do that. Any suggestions or you want to make, Tyler?
I'm reviewing what Mike suggested at the moment and trying to think about that.
I think it was the cost per megawatt hour. It was written as per megawatt, which is a capacity term. Whereas we're talking about the cost of a chunk of electricity, not a kilowatt hour, but it's a megawatt hour.
Yeah, that does make sense. I'm trying to place that number within the context of where wholesale rates are right now, and
This was for renewables for future wind and solar, particularly wind, I think it was quoted as. Tom, do you recollect?
I think that they were talking the cost of and again, the 15 seems to be the number that they're talking wind might come in at. 15,
15 to 20,
yeah,
15
That-
to $20 per megawatt
per
hour.
megawatt hour, yep.
it seems very low.
Does it?
I thought that was a pretty good price too.
Yeah,
Sign
I
me
mean,
up.
that's the price I would expect for something like a spot price for wind overnight, but not something that contractually, I think people are contracting for things a lot higher than that
I think it's 150 to 200.
for
Oh.
offshore. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't recommend we do that.
Yeah,
Perhaps somebody could just quickly review the
Fact check.
recording
Yeah.
and
I'll review that. I'll
see
take
what
a look
was
at that.
said.
Yep.
Okay, correct that.
Yeah, about my comment later in the meeting, I think that my intention was to say that, you know, our best intended plans right now are probably going to be based off of the best information that we have at this time, but things invariably change so much that it's difficult for us to predict what's going to happen in this so many years in the future.
Could not agree more. Any other changes that people like to make to these minutes?
Very
Which-
comprehensive as usual.
Incredibly helpful set
Yeah.
of minutes. Really appreciate it. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes of October 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all in favor, Tyler,
aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Laura, aye. Thanks very much. And now we are down to our updates, starting with the transmission line project. Big update.
so the transmission line project was filed with the Energy Facility Siting Board yesterday afternoon. The project is on the HEIRP website, the documents for it. We will be sending out a GM update and a press release. The press release should have gone out today, and the GM update is on our website. We'll be mailing that out, emailing it out, and mailing that out to customers. This brings us into the you know, a kind of a different process now that where the siting board will require public meetings where customers can come and have input into the project. I don't know what the timeline will be on those, but in talking to Rob Shapiro, he thinks maybe, you know, March, April timeframe for to start those meetings. So
Tom, do you know where we are on costs to date and projected costs?
projected cost was $100 million. That was $40 million for the Eversource station and $60 million for our station and the work in Hingham and Weymouth.
And what about costs to date?
I don't have the cost to date, what we spent to date. We can get that.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I can get that.
That would be helpful.
Yep.
People want to know that.
Yeah.
First thing people are gonna ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
S-
And again,
uh,
you know, with the rate study that the rates, the increases that we've seen in the last 3 years should cover the cost of this project going forward, so.
And my recollection is the expectation is that kind of on average, this process takes about a year. Is that what you know?
The siting board approval process takes typically 2 years.
2 years. Oh. And So at what point is anticipated that we would be addressing town meeting on this subject, do you think?
We had talked about not this coming year,
Not
but
this year,
following year. Yeah,
the fall, so.
Yeah.
By then, we think we'll know enough.
we'll know enough to be able
Okay.
to, put a warrant together and ask for
Okay.
what money we need.
How long
Okay.
will it take to construct?
It's about 2 years. Hopefully 2 years now. We've been told we cannot buy any of the equipment prior to siting board approval. So we can't even buy any of the equipment, and some of this equipment probably does have long lead times, so.
Yeah, that's my concern here.
Yeah, so we're hoping 2 years, but that could be longer.
Can we order it and put our name on a waiting list?
What I'm being told is you can't even order it until
Oh, jeez.
it's approved by the siting board.
Thank you. State. Okay, but still, big milestone. You guys have been working really, really hard on this for a long time,
Been a
and
long
I'm
time
feeling good
coming,
about,
It's
I'm
nice
feeling good
to
about it.
finally get it filed.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, our next update's on the municipal solar task force, and we are in the middle of trying to draw some new people in and a discussion with the town about solar on the Foster School and the public safety buildings going well. And I just, don't want to take up a lot of time, but we're moving along. We're moving along.
When might we go out to bid?
Well, so the idea is that for those two buildings, at the end of the construction process, there should be some funds left over in their contingency funds. And so they are the committee, it will be the building committees who will go out to bid for that, probably with the help of their program manager. So I don't have the answer on that.
Okay.
But that's great because that would be a couple of solar arrays that are already paid for. So, and for me, I mean, it's been very, very hard, getting the town to the point of being willing to commit in this way, but I feel like having those two arrays will really kind of break the ice jam where people will feel, oh yes, hey, we can do that. Now, we have a beautiful array at the light plant, but nobody ever sees it. People don't know it's there. So, but having it right up there on 3A or at the Foster School, I think is really going to help people adjust to the idea that we put solar arrays on our buildings in this town. So next future projects may not be so easy to do, but I feel like it's going to help get it going with these.
Can we get a drone picture of our light plant array for one of our flyers, maybe?
Yeah, put it right up on the front of the website. Why not? Okay, on to capital projects. Any other capital projects besides the transmission line that we're working on?
We're working on the reconducting of Circuit 9 on, we're actually on the East Street portion of that right now. It's a little delayed, but we think we'll have it done by the end of the year. We're just waiting on a couple of poles from Verizon set. I think they set one yesterday. We need one more from them to before we can do our wire run, so we think we'll have that done. And that was one of our larger projects for this year. The transmission project, the changing the insulators on the transmission project, that was delayed because of the equipment, and now we're being delayed by the T, waiting on them to give us a permit to get out there. So we're hoping to do that. We couldn't do it at this point now this year. So we're hoping to do that next spring. But again, we're waiting on a permit from them.
Okay, thanks. And demand response program is on our list of updates, but I think that was related to getting us signed up with one, and not sure we need updates on it going forward. Unless there's things to report, you will report them, right? But it sounds like things are rolling and we don't need to check in with
Yeah,
this.
things are rolling. We do have
Every-
don't know if Brianna has numbers. I don't think the numbers have changed since the last time we reported. We will get an update from MWIC NextZero, I think next month. Brianna, is it?
We should get a report sometime in the next week so we can issue the credits for the first quarter of the program.
Could you just, if it's like a little report, can you send it out so we can take a look at it? Just
I
for
should be able
information's
to.
sake?
I might just go through and take out any customer
Or
information.
identifying, yeah. But that would really be fascinating to
Yeah,
know.
maybe include the number of events that things were called.
Sure.
It's great. Okay, I think that is the end of our agenda. So,
Just an
I
update
will-
on our solar at the building here. We're hoping to have that energized or up and running by next Friday. So
Did the
Whoa,
park come in,
hooray.
Tom?
they're working on it. We had an outage last Friday. We took an outage on the building to change out the transformer and pull the cable in. We'll have another outage this Friday to do some additional work, and hopefully by the end of the next week, we'll have it ready for.
What was the part? I'm curious, Tom, that was
I believe it was
Like-
a switchgear.
switchgear?
Yeah, but they couldn't bring it into the building switchgear. We had to put another piece in.
Okay.
Mm. Okay, great, thank you. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Mike,
Aye.
Tyler,
Aye.
Laura, aye. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
All right.